Anthony, I think you got some moxie today.
I feel moxie. I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. Of course, that right over there is the one and only Mr. Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn. Great to see you guys. How you doing today, brother?
Good, this way. I'm feeling good, and I'll tell you, every time I see the opening and I say, that's my friend Glenn, I smile, because that's my friend Glenn.
I do. As a matter of fact, and I think about how wavy my hair was.
Do you know why I'm wearing this tie today?
No, I don't.
Because what does it remind you of?
It reminds me of Moxie Brand,
A picnic table.
Picnic table. Yes,
it's a picnic tablecloth. It's starting to feel like summer, so I feel like I'm in a picnic kind of mood.
Spring here, yeah, man. It's we got a couple of weeks till spring, but it's feeling like spring. And Anthony,
my pool's opening in 10 days.
Wow, I can't believe it. I'm not that brave. I'm still waiting another 60 days or so before opening my pool. But one thing that all of you need to worry about out there is lowering your property tax bills. That's right. You got it. Falling revenues mean lower tax assessment. And there's no fee if you get, wait. I'm so sorry, guys. I missed thinking this morning. Bright Support. They're the ones that are going to help lower your tax assessments out there, right? So it's 5 minutes start, no risk over there. Applications are processed in the order they are received, of course. And don't miss this rare opportunity to reduce a huge operating expense, right? Book your free 30-minute consultation right now at brightsupport.net/hotels or call 833-411-2333 and tell them No Vacancy sent you. But first and foremost, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Ecotech. They are on Amazon.com right now. They've reached the big time. You know it right now, Anthony. You know what we're talking about over here. We got the disposable trash can over here. Save time, save money, save resources. But the fact is, they might be on Amazon, but you want to buy direct. So go right to ecotech.com. and you're going to get an extra 10% off. Again, that is eco-techwaste.com, eco-techwaste. Anthony, we wanted to bring you in here because I know you like that product.
Yeah, I love that product, but I love it when you don't bring me in when I'm trying to fix my lighting.
We got a whole lot of problems over here for something. Hey, look, Carlos says that tries to schedule meetings around our show. Thank you so much. We really
you should bring us into me. You know what's so funny? I was talking to someone, Suzanne, our fan, and also my business partner on my educational part of what I do, or what I'm going to continue to do, hopefully next year and this year. She was telling me that she actually lets her class, I think it was Suzanne, lets her graduate students and undergraduate students at college, at BU, listen to our podcast and then discuss our podcast. So she lets them pick whatever podcast they want, and then they have to discuss it, and then they have to link to it, and they have to go through different parts of it. So I thought that was very interesting. Because Hotel Impossible has been in a lot of hospitality schools for many years. But now that the podcast is getting there too, that's great.
Well, I guess because of Suzanne and her class, that's why both the Checking In with Anthony and Glenn podcast feed and No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman, No Vacancy live feeds are both in the top 0.5% of all podcasts in the known planet Earth over here. So thank you guys all for your support. We really appreciate it. Special thank you to Ecotech over there for their big support. We really appreciate everything you're doing. So please check out our advertisers. It's so important for us. All right, now on to the news. We're going to
that's enough. That's enough foreplay. Let's get to the steak.
I know, but I did want to say one thing. Anthony, we've been talking about coming up on this 1 year anniversary. So I went back into the database to look at what's going on. And a year ago last night was that time we drove in and we did our first LinkedIn live broadcast with Dr. Primus. That was 1 year ago yesterday. And then we took a couple of days off as everything kind of fell apart around us. I remember driving home from that event, losing 75% of my business between that night and the next day. Then on the 14th, I went on air with Cecil Staten, the then relatively new president and CEO of AHOA. And then a couple of days later, we started doing this every single day. So next week's going to be our official 1 year anniversary doing this show.
Wow. Are you getting me a ring, flowers? What are you getting me?
I got all of those things for you. But you ruined the surprise now. Maybe what I'll do is I'll get you some Hand Solo frozen in carbonite soap from our friend Caleb Bingham.
Well, I know David and you probably put some pictures together from last year, so we have them?
No, not for today, because today we got pictures of something else. We're focusing on Moxie today, Anthony. We'll worry about.
I thought you were going to show us in our sweatshirts and our beards.
No, next week for the official 1-year anniversary, we're going to do that because I wanted it to be me and you a mess, not just a mess all alone.
Well, I had breakfast with my friend Kevin Abernathy, and I already had cash in the house. I already had, all my supplies. I already had my gloves. I was wearing a mask and gloves, and I come into breakfast, and he said, "I don't want to live in the world that you're describing." I was like, "Well, we're here, buddy."
Yep. Oh, well, but now we see light. Things are happening. We are all vibrating with love and light, and that's because we got Mitchell Hochberg on the show of Lightstone. You might know them as owners of this property that I'm not at right now, Moxie Times Square, a couple of other Moxies in New York City, as well as the brand new Moxie South Beach. Mitchell, welcome to the show. I got to tell you, the first time I saw this rooftop, I was blown away. I think it's the largest rooftop space that serves alcohol in all of New York City, or was at the time. Is that correct? And welcome.
Largest in a hotel. Yep. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Yes, right. Of course, I guess like Empire State Building might have more square foot outside or something like that. But yes, in a hotel. All right, Anthony.
Well, I was just going to say, Mitchell, what you're doing with the Moxie brand and just the way you run your hotels and the way I love owners that are so involved, but not involved in a way of just speaking at the hotel, but being involved with the hotel and understanding the operation and giving the businesses what they need to be successful. And I think you do that as well, or if not better than anybody. So it's great to share the same business with you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
So I guess the best place to start out is big congratulations. A couple of weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago already, we had our friend Stacey Shoemaker-Rowan on, and she, of course, is the editorial director over at HD Magazine, HD Expo, all of that kind of great stuff. And on that day, Mitchell, your hotel had just happened to open, so I had it on my green screen behind me because I wished I could have been there because it looked so beautiful. Well, half the conversation wound up talking about your hotel. Couldn't help ourselves. So we said, why not just get the man on himself? So congratulations on opening up a hotel. What has that process been like getting it open, particularly unusual time?
Yeah, very interesting, right? Opening during a pandemic. I think the process itself was probably delayed about 3 months, dealing particularly with municipal agencies, dealing a lot with getting approvals. We had a couple of COVID outbreaks on site that delayed us. But we actually were pretty lucky that it was only a 90-day delay, which was wonderful. We were really concerned about opening up into the pandemic and how it was going to be accepted. We were very careful to make sure we had all the right protocols in place. But fortunately, we opened up in South Beach, which probably was the best place on earth to open up a hotel this winter. And as some of you may or may not know, there's no COVID in Miami. It just
I say it every day. It's Miami. There's no COVID.
We should get no COVID in Miami.
Right. It kind of jumped over. And from an operations point of view, we've actually had a COVID bump. The hotel is 100% occupied on the weekends. It's in the 70s and 80s during the week.
Wow.
It's completely booked for the next 3 weeks for spring break. So we've been very, very fortunate, actually.
And that's great because I have friends that are running businesses down there in Miami and Tampa who are doing really, really well. But you're still doing all the proper protocols for your staff. I want people to understand that when you go down to Florida, the staff is still protecting themselves and you're doing all the right things.
Yeah, we require masks in the hotels. We have Atmos air cleaning system that goes throughout the whole hotel. We're cleaning public spaces every few hours, special protocols for cleaning guest rooms. So we're very much conscious of what's going on. I was really more referring to the how many people are there and how people we really want to go out and get out.
No, but I just want people not to like come on for 5 minutes and hear that, and then they're doing something else and don't hear that the proper protocols are still being followed.
Very, very much so.
Mitchell, let me ask you this. When you typically open a hotel, Or when you were planning this hotel, let's say before all of this crisis hit in a year ago, what would normally you hope the ramp up period would be like? And how is that actually comparing to what you're experiencing right now in South Beach? Because from my outside point of view, it seems like you're doing better than you would have maybe even otherwise.
Yeah, we are. We definitely are. I mean, first of all, we always try to limit occupancy for the first few months to kind of get the kinks out.
Right.
So typically we wouldn't go above 50, 60% occupancy for a month or two. And typically we may not have all the rooms ready. We were very fortunate that 100% of the inventory was ready to open when we opened. And we did open for the first week or so at 50, 60%. But I have an incredible operations team. The hotel is managed by Ergo. And Leslie, our GM, has been with us for a while on other projects. So she's absolutely incredible too. And they said, bring it on. And while we would have kept it at 50 or 60, they said, we're ready to go, crank it up. And the demand was there.
Wow.
Fantastic.
How did you get it ready in such a short period of time compared to normal? Is that because of the delay that you had allowed for the rest of the hotel to come along?
I think it was a number of things. I think the delay gave us a little bit more time. And we were lucky that the whole operating team, or the core of the operating team, were people that had worked together on other projects, and the GM had worked for us before. So they'd been through one of our openings. And the development team and the contractor just did an extraordinary job by finishing on time and having everything ready and really no punch list. Like, we have meetings daily on most projects to go over out of order rooms for the first 3 months and what's wrong with the HVAC in this room and there's a leak in that room. And we had virtually nothing in this hotel, which was very fortunate.
And do you think that's because other construction projects were probably stopped and they just can put a lot more resources, or was it you working with great people?
I think we were fortunate that we were working with great people, really great people.
So what does New York look like right now? Moxie Times Square, which is one of my favorite hotels. I actually, anytime I walk by there, I always stop in just to walk in, smell it, see it, feel it. I love that. I love that brand. Love that hotel. So what does New York look like on the weekends, during the week? What do you see the next 12 months?
Yeah, it's interesting. Right now, there are two different stories going on in New York. During the week, the occupancies are fairly low, below 40%, sometimes in the 30s at all three hotels. And then we're basically sold out every weekend. Or if we're not sold out, we're in the high 90s at all three properties.
So now, is that an occupancy play, or is that you're also being able to keep rate because your competitors are also pretty busy?
It's not really an occupancy play in and of itself. I think the rates are fairly low right now because we're all, grabbing for business. But I think what's going on is there's a huge demand on the weekends with a lot of people doing drive vacations, a lot of people doing staycations from the city. So you have people coming in from Boston, people coming in from Washington, D.C. and Philly. And then you have a lot of people just driving in from Jersey and Long Island to spend a couple of nights in the city. It was interesting because it happened during the winter when there was very little food and beverage, right? But I really expect it to now really start exploding even more so, which will give us some ability to raise rates now that the restaurants are starting to open again.
So
I want Anthony, let me just ask this question because it follows on the same train of thought here. I'm a little confused because if you're looking at the media, New York City is dead, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to go to New York City. People are, obviously they are, you just said they're staying in your hotels. What are they doing in New York City? What's actually open? What is the benefit of coming and staying at a hotel in New York City as opposed to just staying in Jersey, New York, or Long Island, or whatever it might be?
I think people, first of all, just want to get out of their house, right? So coming into the city, there are some restaurants that are opened. The ones that are open with outdoor dining are jammed. The people are sitting there with coats and hats and gloves and eating just to kind of get out of the house and do something different. And parts of New York are just beautiful, walkable neighborhoods, right? So, you still see a lot of people walking around Times Square, the Village in particular, people like to walk around. Some of the museums are open now with limited capacity, so people are going to the museums. So you clearly don't have Broadway and you don't have the breadth of food and beverage, but there's enough there for somebody who wants to be adventuresome. And I think people are just so thirsty for action, right, that they're going to take what they can get.
Charlie Flateman from Schubert is working real hard with all his people all the other Broadway companies to get it open. So hopefully, I think hopefully what I'm hearing through other people is I think you're going to start seeing some Broadway shows at the end of the summer, and then in the fall, I think you're going to really start seeing things. But I think that their theory is, and I don't know this for sure, but I would just imagine theater is expensive to run. So they're not going to open it until they can open it. I don't think you can open up these small theaters with 50% capacity. So, but when that comes back, the city will come back. But what I heard 8 months ago, and the day one on this show, we never said this, and we've never said it since, that our obituary in New York City was written by a few people that New York's going to die. Now, I know that you probably think that's laughable. We think that's laughable. It's the greatest city on earth. To say that the city is busy on the weekends, I think 90% of the people listening to this broadcast are shocked.
Right.
But City Park's still open, and the museums are doing great jobs marketing. I'm getting more more digital emails and things from the museums than I've ever gotten in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's also, actually, there was an interesting article today in one of the New York papers about the fact that a lot of the people that went down south to Florida are now starting to come back. And the number of people that really have moved permanently is really very small.
Well, I lived in Florida for 4 days a week for a little over a year. And I will tell you, I like Florida. I even made my condo down there. But it's just different. And if you're a New Yorker, it's a great place to visit, but I don't know if you want to live there.
Yeah,
I think there in August because I hear the weather's so great in Malibu.
Well, I wore a suit in 110 degree in Orlando weather when I was running Nickelodeon, and it was not fun, my friend. But it's great to hear that New York is coming back. So when you're walking around here, I haven't been in New York in a couple of weeks. When you're walking around New York on the weekends, I know during the week it's still weird because I was there actually a couple of weeks ago at 5 o'clock, and I didn't see anybody emptying out of buildings. But on the weekends, it almost feels normal, right?
It does. So yeah, certain neighborhoods, you walk around Rockefeller Center, it's very, very quiet, but it's always quiet on the weekends. But you walk around more of the residential neighborhoods, Central Park South, Central Park West, Fifth Avenue, or walk through the Village in the West Village, the streets are full. And again, there's a tremendous amount of outdoor dining. By the way, one of the great benefits to this horrible, disease that we had was outdoor dining in New York. So there's so many restaurants, right, that now have outdoor dining. Now, as the weather gets warm, they're going to let them continue the outdoor dining, and that really activates the spaces and makes the neighborhood so much more vibrant.
Well, I invite you to take the ferry to Rockaway, and I will buy you dinner at the Rockaway Hotel. I don't know if you've seen it or heard about it.
I have.
Have you seen it? Have you been there?
No, I have not been there.
The Terrence Tuberty and his partners are doing an amazing job out there, and it's right on the ocean. So talk about outdoor dining. It's on steroids, and it's a beautiful hotel. I'd love to show you around.
So, Mitchell, speaking of outdoor dining, you've got this amazing roof space over here. Are you leveraging that opportunity a little bit more these days and planning to this summer?
Yeah, well, actually, the roof has been open nonstop because basically we could have this outdoor dining.
Yep.
So we installed heaters. We've actually opened up for longer hours. So we start to open at 3 PM, and we're open for brunch and lunch on the weekends.
Awesome.
And it has knocked it out of the park. We typically have to turn people down if they don't have a reservation. We've expanded substantially the food offering, and people people are dying to get out, and it's really brought a new group of people to the roof that typically would not have come out, but that's the best option right now in New York, and we expect them to stay as customers as we go forward. And then hopefully, right, as we get up to 50, 75, and 100% dining, even in the inclement weather, we can keep it opened as well, which would be really great. But we were open in the dead of winter, and we were full almost every night.
Wow. And that is, again, shocking to a lot of people. So what do you think, Mitchell, coming out of this, and we really haven't spoken in the last couple of weeks about what's happened last year, because that's all we've been speaking about. So going forward, what stays operationally from a guest standpoint? What is the thing 6 months, 12 months, 3 years from now that you think are going to last post-pandemic?
Okay. So I think one of the things is clearly more automated and contactless things. For instance, we have contactless check-in in all the hotels now. Either you can do it on your mobile app, right? Or now there's a brand new technology, which actually Moxie Times Square was the first Marriott in the world to install it within the past 30 days, where they basically have a pod that you can go up to and check in as if you're checking in at the airport, and automatically, touch screen, check in, print your key, and do everything without really interacting with anybody.
What's the name of the software?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, can you get it for me? Because I was about to send my my people.
Right. So we're actually they're rolling it out, and we're actually opening it up at Moxie South Beach next week, and hopefully the other 2 Moxie hotels within the next month as well. So that's been great. And I think, although I think it'll give people the option, either if they don't want contact or if they want to expedite their check-in, I think it's a great option for people. Right. For us, in a brand that really wants people to interact, we're still going to have people in the lobby, and we still hope people will check in and want to talk to our crew, know what's going on in the property and everything else. We have QR codes that we're using throughout the hotel, so we don't have printed material in the rooms like we typically would do. I think that printed material will come back, but I think the QR codes will stay. It's a very efficient way for people to find out what's going on. And clearly, even and this is just with activities, but let alone the menus, I think will make a big difference. And I do think the enhanced cleaning is going to stay. I think that's going to be something that people are going to expect. And I think it's a great idea, and people feel more comfortable, so that, God forbid, anything close to this ever happens again, that everybody is ahead of it. I think the social distancing, right, is gone. Right, once people, I think, are inoculated, once people feel a little bit more comfortable, I think that's gone. And we've been talking about that a lot amongst ourselves. And I think the whole word social distancing is really a misnomer, because it was really physical distancing that was going on. And people did not want to distance socially. And people are social human beings. They love being around other people, right? Particularly in our hotels, they love it. And as soon as they feel safe and they're able to do it, they're going to just jump back right into that.
Well, that's the whole thesis of the Moxie brand, is bringing people together out of the rooms. You guys have pioneered. Your rooms are smaller, partly because of New York real estate, but they're very cleverly put together. But they're done with that with the assumption that people are going to want to go upstairs to the rooftop. They're going to want to hit your second floor where you've got an incredible bar in the Times Square property, right, Anthony?
Yeah, and and New York is doing so far a pretty good job of getting the vaccines out. I know I've been vaccinated. A lot of my friends have been vaccinated. So I'm just waiting to I've been traveling. So we're ready to go. Oh, so my question to you is, overnight housekeeping. I'm staying in a hotel for a week. What's happening there? I know I'm seeing a lot more people putting do not disturb signs. I was at the front desk recently in LA, in Long Beach, and I heard like 3 guests say, we don't want service. They asked, do you want overnight service? They said no. So what do you think that falls out? I think it's going to continue, but what do you think?
I think what's going to happen is, depending upon the level of the hotel, right? So let's take the luxury space out of it. I think in an affordable product, what probably will happen is that the norm will be that housekeeping will be either once during your stay or every 3 days. And if you want to request it daily, you can request it daily, right? Because I think people are getting a little more comfortable with the fact, something, I don't need someone to come in every day. And what we're doing, for instance, in South Beach now, we're doing it every 3 days, but we're just replacing towels daily. So people can call up, we'll bring them fresh towels and everything. And people prefer that. They prefer not to have the intrusion in their rooms. And, there's, in a lot of most instances, there's really no reason to do it.
And what I like to see is, one hotel had extra towels in my room already, and it said a little sign, extra towels for your convenience. And the other hotel, I had to call down. So I'm starting to see people actually fill up the bathroom with extra towels. I don't know. People still stealing towels, but I think it saves labor if you don't have to constantly go up to people's room and give them towels.
Right. And then, candidly, since we're talking on an industry show right now, it's a cost savings.
Yeah.
That'll help mitigate the increased cleaning costs that we have as a result of all the other things that we're doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. People are saying, well, housekeepers are going away and cleaning. So no, we're just using it differently. We're using it whereas before, Mitchell, as you know, better than anyone, people didn't want to see cleaning. Now everybody wants to see cleaning.
Right. And the other thing is it's taking longer to clean a room because you're cleaning it much more thoroughly and with additional products.
Right.
So if a housekeeper was doing 12 rooms, right, a day, they're now probably doing 8 rooms a day.
Right.
And may only need to do 8 rooms a day because people are opting out. And just a little note for everybody out there that hasn't been following us necessarily for the last year. We talked a lot about how what's happening right now is an acceleration of trends inside the market. Mitchell, you already talked about, self check-in. That was something that was in place. And when it comes to this cleaning and not wanting housekeeping come every day, that was also something that was starting to emerge. Anecdotally speaking, I know myself and all my friends traveling 100 plus nights a year, going from conference to conference. We don't want that intrusion. We've seen a lot of people not wanting that intrusion. So this is not something necessarily that's taking away from the guest. In a sense, it's empowering the guests to make their own decisions about privacy and how they want their rooms cleaned, while also happening to have the positive effect, Mitchell, of saving you some labor costs as well.
Right. And then another thing that I think the last item in terms of things that we're doing more now that will stay is grab and goes. So we've always had some type of a grab and go in each of the hotels in addition to the restaurants and the bars, to make things more convenient for people that are in a hurry. And we've enhanced them during the pandemic. And we will probably keep those enhanced grab and goes as well, which will provide a broader set of options at an affordable price for people just to grab something and on the go.
Right. And again, Anthony, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. And that's really kind of the wave of the future, whether you're a limited service hotel, 3-star hotel, 4-star hotel. I think, again, 5-star hotel lives separately from most hotels. But even in those hotels, you're going to see grab and go, but in a different style. So listen, I think honestly, we're 10 years ahead of where we would have been if it wasn't COVID. Technology was coming. Like MGM was going to have, check-in for all their hotels. It would have taken 3 or 4 years. They have them now. So I think grab and go was a concept. Room service was going out of style. All these cost-saving things that we were thinking about are now here, and I think a lot of it just was pushed up a couple of years.
Yeah, I know Marriott was very much along with the contactless check-in before this, and they just accelerated it.
Right. Yeah. A lot of IT people didn't lose their jobs.
Right.
There was lots of. What's the one thing, Mitchell, that during the pandemic, what's the thing that stands out to you most when it comes to the hospitality industry? What either surprised you, good or bad, about the last year?
I think, I don't know if it's surprised. I think the toughest thing for us to deal with was employment, right? And the fact that we had to take so many people that had worked so hard, were so devoted, and either lay off or furlough them, right? And it was a very hard thing to do. We tried to do it as slowly as possible, as did a lot of other operators, but ultimately a lot of people lost their jobs. And I think that was probably the toughest and the most memorable thing for us in terms of going through the process. Ironically now, the people that we're trying to get back fall into 2 categories. We have one group of people that can't get back fast enough.
Right.
And then we have another group of people that have gone in different directions for a number of reasons. One of the things that the industry is finding challenging is all the increased unemployment, and the federal subsidies now that are coming through have made it very challenging to bring back most hourly and minimum wage employees, although we're not paying minimum for anybody, but for hourly employees, because they're getting so much money right now with unemployment and the stipends that they scratch their head and they say, why should I work right now?
Right. And we're hearing that across the board.
Labor is a very big problem.
I never would have expected, a year ago, we were talking about how difficult labor was. At the time, there was 8 million jobs open or something like that. A million jobs open. It was 1 million jobs open. And now there's still jobs open, but it's just a different set of reasons behind it. Mitchell, you know what I want to do? I would like to change the conversation and head on down to South Beach. Let's go there. Check that out. Brand new hotel that you just opened over there. Very excited. And what I really love about this brand new transportation technology is I could go anywhere in the world, just a snap of the finger. Mitchell, we're loving what we've seen about this hotel. We've got some great photographs to show. Tell us a little bit about this project in general terms, and then we'll get into some of the specifics.
This one was a lot of fun, and it started about 4 years ago. We were able to buy the property. This area of the beach had been rezoned to allow for this type of construction. Previously, you couldn't get this high, and it's actually been recently redubbed as the Art Deco Cultural District. We were one of the first hotels to go up there, and we collaborated again with the Rockwell Group. Rockwell has been a very, very important collaborator in most of the Moxies that we've done. And we love working with them, and we love them because they understand the brand. They have an incredible sense of design, and we really work very closely with them to come up with a story that fits each of the hotels. And here, what they came up with was when they started to do a lot of research, they found that there was a ferry line called the Clyde Mowry ferry line that went back and forth from Havana to Miami in the 40s. And they felt that that would be an interesting inspiration for a hotel to try to bring back some of the design and style during those days that was somewhat, from Cuba, but also from the Art Deco part of Miami. And it was just a lot of fun working with them. And I think, as we do these, we enjoy this. We really enjoy it. The team really immerses themselves in the design and in the storytelling that each of the properties have. And one of the things that I think we've been very successful at is each hotel, really embraces the neighborhood and the city that it's built in. So you can walk into Moxie Chime Square. It's a very different hotel than Moxie Chelsea or Moxie Lower East Side or Moxie East Village. And same thing with Miami. Miami feels like a Miami hotel.
Right. Yeah. And that's what the whole point of this Moxie brand is, to give you the flexibility and freedom to create something that feels like the area it's in, while having characteristics that give you cues about what that brand is supposed to be like. Dave, do we have some pictures? And Anthony, you want to?
Well, I was just going to say, and especially because in New York City, you have all those Moxies, and people that don't know New York City, they're not very far from each other, but they're all doing well because they're all very much their own person, if you will.
Right. So the hotel provided us with a lot of opportunities. We're 8 stories. We're a block and a half off the beach. And the top floors of the hotel, including the roof, have magnificent views of the ocean, which is great for a hotel that's not built on the sand and is at a really affordable rate. This is the lobby of the hotel. I had a dream that I've always wanted to do, and this has been the first time I've actually been able to execute it, which was to do some type of a bodega or taco stand in the lobby of one of our hotels. So on the right is Los Buenos. Los Buenos is a taco stand that's operated by our food and beverage partners, the Coyo Taco team. And it's great. It's open from breakfast till 4 a.m, subject to curfews. And it's a great place for people to go. It's a very fast, casual grab and go. You can get up in the morning and have a taco for breakfast. You can have something light for lunch, or if you're coming back from a club at 3 a.m. and need something greasy to soak up the booze, it's a great opportunity as well. You can see some of the design elements that we've done here. You see the terrazzo floors, which are very, very much what you see throughout Miami. But what's a lot of fun, what Rockwell did, is if you see the ceiling is actually breeze block. And the breeze block is typically what you see on walls in Miami and in South Florida. And they kind of turned it on its end and put it in the ceiling, which I thought was very clever.
I love it.
If you see that blue spot on the right, that's an oculus that's right to the pool. And you can look right up there and see the pool, and it's a ton of fun, right? When you're walking through the lobby and you're seeing people swim above you, and it's a little nod to the exhibitionist culture that you see in Miami quite a bit. And then lastly, if you look straight into the back on the left-hand side is the courtyard. One of the things that we did throughout this property, and was very fortuitous given what's going on today with COVID, is that every space has an outdoor element to it. So you can see the lobby. The lobby actually has a courtyard part as well, and we keep that wall opened most of the time so that people can sit indoors or outdoors and still enjoy the whole lobby experience of the hotel. And then Bar Moxie, which is the bar, is a big essential element of all the Moxies. That bar is always in the center of the property itself.
All right, let's see the next one, Dave. Wow.
Again, very playful, very colorful. We always like to put a game in and on the right-hand side, you'll see a foosball. And what we did there is, you don't have a close-up of it, but it's a foosball with a bunch of dolls on them. And the dolls are dressed up as soccer players, a little nod to more modern women today, right? And they have tattoos and pink hair, and it's just really a lot of fun. And then you can see on the far right, we love working with local artists. So we found one local artist in particular, Aquilina, who we loved, and we talked to her about what we wanted to do and what was really in tune with the brand. And she did some beautiful murals throughout the property.
That is
it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
Rooftop.
Talk about stunning.
Yeah. This is the rooftop. So we again had a lot of fun here. Rockwell did a magnificent job with the custom tile. They actually did something which I thought was very unique. They took the tile up along the walls as well, so you're almost completely enclosed by it. And then we brought in again another artist, Granger, who did the roof of that you see swinging on the right, and it's really magnificent. Particularly, you can see it from the street. So it gives another feature focal point. And there's a little plunge pool that's up on the roof as well. And the roof has the unique ability not only to see the beach, but it gets magnificent sunsets looking to the west as well.
Wow. Absolutely.
What's that little toy there that you swing around on?
It's great. It's a swing we put up. Again, the Moxie is always trying to be fun and have these unexpected little things. So this is actually a swing. It's an oversized life preserver. That's a swing, and it's set up as a table for people to sit and have some drinks. And directly in front, in the middle, is a lily pad that's sitting in the plunge pool that people can go and lay on the lily pad.
Right.
I just told the producer to send me these slides because this is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, these are incredible. So a couple of things here. Jeff Broman is saying, hey, it's interesting to have bunk beds. He's seen it a few other places. Is this a new trend? Actually, the trend's been in place for quite a while. Not only has Mitchell had this in some of his Moxie hotels since they were opened, especially in New York, but casinos in Las Vegas, some of those properties have done it as well. But Mitchell, I think what I really want to talk about for just a moment is how absolutely stunning the photography is. The first we looked at on the roof, I think, Dave, that's 2 or 3 pictures back. One more. Look at that. The sunset. It's composed absolutely beautifully and perfectly. For all of you hoteliers out there, you need to invest in photography. It tells the story.
And I'll tell you a story about this. So first of all, I think we've been successful because we've been fortunate to find some incredible collaborators. Right. I think Rockwell makes us better at everything that we do. Included in that team is Michael Kleinberg, who's the photographer that we work with on absolutely everything we do. And we put a tremendous amount of time and attention into this. I literally spent a full week on site with Michael and his team working on this. It's a labor of love. He is just an incredibly talented photographer. He brings out the best in what we do. And I think, as owners and developers, it's really worth the time and effort to present this to your guests.
Well, it's critical.
Yeah. Michael is incredible. This is beautiful. So we did an outdoor screening room, and this is a ton of fun. Typically, we'll just loop some old movies, but we're actually tonight, the Miami Film Festival is now, and we're having a film that's going to be shown there as part of the film festival. You can just sit here and turn a movie on and request one, or you can rent it out for a bunch of friends for the night. But the film festival is actually premiering a movie at the roof tonight.
Now, let me ask you a question. From an operational standpoint, you sell that space to a group, or you sell that space for whatever function that somebody would want. So if they want to, like you said, independently have their film shown there, they rent out the entire space, correct?
Right, they can. Right. Yeah. We offer it. In fact, with the way this roof has been designed is you can rent out just this small space here for 20 people, right? You can rent out half the roof, right, for that and a cocktail party, or you could take the whole roof if you wanted to as well.
Right. And
that's a great list of our guests that are coming.
I'm sorry. What are you doing for shading? Good job, David. Can you go back to the picture, David, where that film was, where the that photography was?
Yeah, the film only works at night, right?
Okay, right.
And then we have huge umbrellas throughout the roof, which we learned very quickly had to be weighted down in Miami because you get some nice breezes. So those now have weights in them, and so that you can really sit in the sun or the shade anywhere. It's interesting what's evolved with the sun worshiping. If you go down to our pool, and one of the big surprises to us is how popular the pool has become. You know, we thought we're near the beach, it's in Miami, that, you know, you get a handful of people, and we've been involved in other projects in Miami, you get a handful of people at the pool. When I was down there 2 weeks ago, by 8 o'clock in the morning, every seat at the pool was taken, right?
Oh my gosh.
But interesting, half the people wanted to be in the shade and wanted the umbrellas up. So while people are not necessarily worshiping the sun, they want to be outdoors, and they want to be around the pool, and they want to be around the action.
Yeah,
and that's people there from partying the night before and hadn't gone to sleep yet.
Maybe.
Sorry.
And so, what are you doing in this area for shade? Because we're building a rooftop, and we're actually in the midst of talking about it right now. What are you doing to cover that area? Are those shades there? Like, what is that?
This particular area is not covered, but we discussed doing it, and we have something we're actually doing in the restaurant downstairs, which would be a shade that would roll out from that that roof that you're looking at. It could easily be done.
Okay, all right, that's absolutely beautiful, and I just love everything that you're thinking about, because it's different. It's, we're sick and tired of the sameness, and again, for a Marriott brand to have this within their portfolio is so important, because there's a lot of hotel companies that are doing certain things and trying to copy what you guys are doing to Moxie, but they're not doing it, in my opinion, with the same level of transparency and genuineness of not only a hotel operation, but of true design and incorporating the local community in a real way, because the brands get in the way. And here it seems the relationship you have with all your collaborators, including Marriott, it just seems like there's one brain that's coming up with this. Typically, if I walked into this hotel and didn't know it was a Marriott, I said, there's one guy. I can literally, as a matter of fact, when I first walked into your hotel in Times Square, I told Christian, I believe, I said, there's one guy on this. He goes, no, this is a brand. I go, yeah, but there's one guy. So, but that's what you make it feel like. If you have the right leadership and the right people collaborating, it feels like it's one person's vision.
Right, that's great. And I think Marriott has been great because they've given us quite a bit of leeway. So this you're looking at.
Mitchell, can you say that again? Marriott gave you
great because they've given us quite a bit of leeway.
I think that's the first time a human being's ever said that.
We're very fortunate. I think they appreciate what we're doing. And they're also a collaborator. I mean, they weigh in on what they think works and doesn't work. But at the end of the day, I think they appreciate what we've done with each of the properties.
Right.
And it obviously helps support the brand as a whole. So this is great. What we did in Miami, and we've done in a few other places, is we brought in a local design firm to work on the food and beverage venues. So Saladino Studio, which is based in Miami, Sean Saladino is the principal, work with us on the food and beverage venues. This is Serena. This is the second floor rooftop restaurant. And he just did a magnificent job creating something very special. This is an open air rooftop restaurant. It was, the whole idea was to find something that kind of channeled the rooftop restaurants and the backyard type of restaurants that you see in Oaxaca and Mexico City. So you see the Balagan vibrant colors that you'd see in one of his typical designs. And what we have is we have table seating, and we also have lounge seating. You can probably see off to the left the lounge seating. And it just serves classic dishes with a really cool modern interpretation, some traditional Latin and Mexican cuisine. This opened with the hotel, and this has been just a roaring success. So this opens at 11. It's now open until 11 o'clock because of the curfew, but it will be open until 2 in the morning once the curfew is lifted next week. And this has been great. People come all times of day. They come during lunch in bathing suits. They come at night dressed to the nines. We have live music at night or DJs, and it's been absolutely fantastic.
Wow, that is beautiful. So this relationship that you have with Marriott is a very special one. You've really taken to building these here in the United States. And Mike Sumi is asking, what do you have in planning? More Moxies, any other brands? Tell us a little bit about maybe as well how this relationship with Marriott and Moxie specifically came together and all of that kind of good stuff.
Well, in terms of first, what we have in terms of other Moxies, we have under construction now a Moxie on the Lower East Side of New York, a Moxie in Williamsburg section of Brooklyn.
Wow.
And one in downtown LA. And for better or worse, all three of them will be opening toward the end of 22 at the same time, which is great. I think the better part is the fact that, you know, we have some runway of 18 months as things start to recover. I'm not sure opening three at one time is going to be easy, but they all ended up on the same schedule, or they weren't started at the same time. The relationship really came about 5, 6 years ago. My partner David Lichtenstein and I were trying to figure out where we could build in New York City some hotels. And everything we looked at showed the price was just too expensive to build. And you still look at New York, where the occupancies range from the high 80s to the mid 90s, and you scratch your head and say, gee, if I can only build here, I should have a real solid investment. So we looked at a lot of different ways of trying to build more efficiently. They really didn't work. And then as we continue to brainstorm, we realized that when we looked at Europe in particular, and also in Asia, that the hotel rooms were much smaller than they are in the United States. And I always talk about that being the American factor, right? The SUVs are bigger, the TVs are bigger, the big gulps are bigger. We just do everything bigger than is necessary. And we said, you know, what about if we take a leap and try to build a smaller hotel room and see if by doing that, we can provide an affordable rate that would really set us apart. So we started to work on it. The first element to me is design. To me is such an important part of the overall experience. So we felt that the design would have to be a leading factor in what we did. We had worked on a number of luxury projects with Yavu Pushelberg, and we went to them and we said, how would you like to collaborate on something very, very, very different? And they are known really for doing their luxury projects. And they were very intrigued by doing something new, different, and challenging. George and Glenn are, again, two very unique talents. And the fact that we're able to get them involved to launch the brand was really critical to it. So we started working together on the brand. And it was really not a brand. It was a single property for Moxie Times Square. And as we got deeper into it, we said, you know, I think we're onto something. Let's do multiple projects. And we started looking for others. And while we did that, we said, you know something, if we're going to do something programmatically as a real estate investor, we felt we needed a major brand to work with us, right, in terms of distribution. And we had a long-standing close relationship with Marriott, and picked up the phone at the time, spoke directly to Arnie, God rest his soul. He was a very important part of this brand's launch. Right. And we basically pitched him and we said, look, we're onto something. We're doing this hotel. We think it's the future. And he said, well, you know, very interesting. We're doing a brand in Europe called Moxie. You should take a look at it.
The first one in Milan opened up
in Milan. So we looked at it and we said, look, it has some of the elements of what we want to do, but we want to do something that has more highly styled design. And we want to have some robust food and beverage because we think that's a big part of the experience. And we will take the lead in doing it if you want. And at the time, they were very busy. They had just bought in Delta. They just bought AC Hotels. And I said to him, would you consider if we took the lead, right? We would put up the capital to help design the prototype, right? You guys look over our shoulder, critique everything because ultimately it's going to be your brand. But if we did that, we would like a hunting license so that if we created something special, that we could really do the gateway cities, New York, LA, and Miami. And they agreed to it. And really the rest is history. And ironically, the person who helped us execute it was Tony Capuano, who's now the CEO of Marriott. So the two of them were very much involved. They understood what we were doing. And it just worked out great.
So that's interesting because a lot of people in your position would, especially in hotels like this, would stay away from a brand. Now, would you do something like this again without a brand? I mean, would you do one-off projects without a brand?
I think I would definitely do a one-off project without a brand, but I'm actually a big believer in the brands, right? And in particular, Marriott, I almost feel like I'm part of that family. I understand everything that comes along with it. There's sometimes a lot of baggage. They sometimes have very sharp elbows, and there are things they want you to do or things they won't let you do that you can't. But at the end of the day, the distribution that you get from them in a very crowded marketplace to us is well worth it.
Why do you think it's different with the Moxie brand than some of the more traditional brands that we're used to as part of the Marriott family of brands?
Well, I think what happened is I think that, and hats off to them, they're realizing that hospitality is evolving, that every brand can't be a cookie cutter. And there's a place in the portfolio to have a brand that still has to fit within a box, but gives you a little bit more room to maneuver. So, when they review the design for every one of our properties, they are incredibly thorough. And they say, it may not feel Moxie enough, or where is the grab and go, or, we don't think Bar Moxie is as much a part of the hotel. But the whole point of the Moxie brand was to build hotels that really embraced each neighborhood and city that it was in. So they gave you that latitude. So I think they understood it was an essential part of the brand, and the brand has really been doing fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. Anthony, got anything else?
No, I'm just fascinated. Mitchell, people that don't build hotels and don't operate hotels and don't develop hotels don't understand what goes into it, and there's a lot. Why do you look so relaxed and chill?
I'm on drugs, right? You should have seen me for the month of February that I spent on site in Miami. Nobody would ever call me relaxed and chilled, right? I think that the only way you can do this is be all in, right? And I think to be successful, you really need to be able to immerse yourself in every element of it, which takes certain type of person. I never can be too busy. I'm up at 5 a.m. exercising, and I'm out at dinner until 10, 11 o'clock at night, right? And I think what's great about this business is that when you're designing a hotel and building and developing a hotel, you're involved in so many different disciplines, right? You're doing design, you're doing construction, you're doing finance, you're doing operations, you're working through the brand, you're doing marketing. And I think that's what makes it so exciting.
You said two things that are, to me, very critical, and two things I really feel. I'm kind of the same way, and the busier I am, the happier I am. But the exercise part is critical, and the photography part is critical. Those are the two things that anytime I'm involved in something, I need to have exercise, or I can't function because I'm just stressed out. The exercise helps me. But the photography, you're the first person I've heard at your level to say, I'm obsessed with photography. What people have to understand, the hotel business is the digital business today. Everything's digital. Everything is online. Everybody's got a 2-second attention span when they're booking. Those pictures live forever. If you go to the Staybridge Suites in Times Square that I developed 10 years ago, 12 years ago, those pictures are exactly the pictures that I spent days with the photographer developing. And those pictures, I think, led to it being the #1 hotel in New York City at the time. So if you have a hotel, make sure you take pictures. It doesn't have to be a beautiful hotel like the Moxie. Whatever you have, just make sure you're bringing out the best of what you have, because it is absolutely critical. It was critical 10 years ago. It's the lifeblood today.
For sure.
And avoid people.
I'm sorry. Today we're talking over each other a lot. I apologize. What I was saying is, when people are watching our show today, and Glenn will tell you how highly rated the show is in a second, because I can never say it right. But they're going to remember those pictures. They're going to remember 99% of what we said, but they're going to remember that pool top. It's like, matter of fact, I'm going to Florida in 3 weeks for something. I am definitely going by your hotel, and I'm bringing a couple of my business partners with me.
Why aren't you staying there?
I will stay there. I have to change my day.
I know somebody that'll get you a rate.
Really? Really? Right. I'll call Christian.
Anthony, the retort would have been, I wanted to, but you were sold out, you know?
Right.
No,
anyway,
I will.
we're talking over each other today, Anthony. I think I had a little too much caffeine this morning, so I'll take responsibility for that.
So what's our podcast rated, my friend?
Here we go to follow up with that question. According to listennotes.com, check them out. Both our podcast feeds, Checking In and No Vacancy, are in the top 0.5% of all downloaded podcasts in the entire planet. How cool is that? And I feel sorry for all of you guys listening to the audio version of that today, because this was such an incredible visual show. So be sure that you watch it in any of the places online.
And one of the things I want to say, Mitchell, that's really important is, we always talk about the pull through. Like, you're talking about the details and bringing everything together. And it's very complex to bring everybody together. But the pull through of the vision boards, the pull through of the branding statement, the pull through of the food and beverage, that's all got to tie back to two things: the customer and the P&L that you promised the partners. Those two things are critical. And that is almost an impossible task. Talk a little bit about that vision and that pull through that you have to make sure when that guest goes to sleep at night, they're not feeling the decisions that, that maybe have been made because of financial reasons.
It's tough, right? I think that is always the toughest thing. This business is a business of details, right? And it's hard to argue that any one detail may in and of itself change a visceral reaction of a guest, right? But if you take too many of them away, they're not going to have that feeling. So for us, right, when we start, right, we start with the vision, we start with the renderings and the boards and everything. And as we go through the process, we try very hard to stay true to everything that we've done. But obviously, we always go through VE. And when we go through the VE, every part of it is about how will that issue potentially affect either the guest experience or somebody's overall visceral reaction to the space itself. Right. And very importantly, because one of my great GMs, Christian, right, the GMs are involved in that process. So we develop with an operating team involved in the development as well, which I think is really they're not unique.
Because that visual reaction gets you to spend money on 2 martinis instead of, one martini, or get you to come back every Saturday night instead of once in a while. That feeling, that comfort. And when you have so many different spaces, as I saw in your hotel, I can come back 5 days a week and get a different feeling every time I come into your hotel.
Right. And I just want to add one thing, because we spent a lot of time on development and design, right? We're skipping probably the most important, which is the crew and the team and the operating team, right? Because we could design the most magnificent looking hotel. And if the team on the ground, right, doesn't exude the feel for the brand and the warmth and the true, genuine hospitality, right, it's all for naught. So I think that PMs are a very, very important part of everything we do. The training is, and the selection, which we call really casting of the crew, is essential to find people that maybe are not necessarily long-term schooled in hospitality itself, but have that hospitality mindset. They want to please people. They're proud of the brand. They're proud of what they do, because that's infectious, and the guests really can sense it.
90% of running an effective hotel is hiring. Too many people do not spend enough time hiring. How many hotels have you walked into, Mitchell, that you see beautiful design, beautiful tiles, beautiful bedding, just a gorgeous hotel, and there is no spirit, there is no passion? I can tell the difference between somebody that was overtrained and somebody that was undertrained. And I'll be honest with you, an undertrained person has a great personality. I'd rather have than an overtrained person with a bad personality. And so I like people who are trained a little bit, but their mother and father taught them, gave them inspiration on how to just, be themselves. And again, when you look at a person, you may look at one person at the front desk is just really, really vibrant and just really funny or whatever. But then you go to the restaurant and you have a waiter that's a real professional waiter that's really nice and really polite and really professional, but maybe not have that demeanor. When you have the same demeanor everywhere in your hotel is when it fails. The demeanor has got to be fun. And it's got to be about the customer. And too many people build these hotels, spend all this money, and forget about the hiring.
For sure. And genuine, by the way. It's got to be genuine. It can't be like some of the brands that march like zombies, right? With certain words that you have to say and you have to greet people a certain way. That's not it. It's got to be very, very genuine.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you, Mitchell. All
right, Mitchell, we've got a request. Could you please name drop the photographer again?
Michael Kleinberg, Kleinberg. If he raises my rates, I'm going to come after you too. Anybody wants?
Well, he's getting a call from Anthony Melchuri, that's for sure.
If you need his contact, you can ask Glenn or Glenn's office, and I'll send his contact to Glenn.
Great. And also, I want to thank all of you for mentioning, Mitchell, you particularly for mentioning Christian Brocious, who's the GM of the Moxie Times Square. He's joined us several times throughout this last year of crisis, sharing with us his personal experiences. So we wish him and all of your teams the best of luck. Any shameless plug you'd like to give us before you wrap up, sir?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I love hanging out with you guys. This is always a lot of fun. So
next time, we're doing it from one of the rooftops of one of your hotels. All right, sir?
Amen.
Maybe we'll go in at the end of the month because I will be sending you a text very soon, Mitchell. Thank you.
Great. Look forward.
All right, sir. Really appreciate it. Man, I've always been a big fan of Mitchell's, and doing what he's doing with this particular brand and managing to really define what it is here in the United States, to me, is absolutely incredible.
It's very hard to find someone with the resources, with the brain power, with the creativity, and with the team, most importantly, team effort, the ability to bring a team together and let the team bring it to life. But also, like he said, know every detail, because this business is the detail business. And that visceral reaction, he said all the things that I think a lot of owners and developers don't say. The visceral reaction, the photography, the employees, it's all coming together. And I would give you a test on how many partners he partnered with for his hotels. And you couldn't tell me more than maybe one or two, because there's so many of them and they all came together flawlessly. That's almost an impossibility. And dealing with Marriott, which I love Marriott brand, but like he said, sharp elbows, I think that was a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Man, I absolutely love that we are coming into your lives every day. For all of you that have made it to this part of the show, you are legendary. Thank you so much for sticking with us every single day of the week. Anthony, next week, we're going to be doing an on-location show in Manhattan from the Mark Hotel, I believe, and we're going to get to see how five-star hotels are dealing with things right now as the great rebirth of hospitality returns.
I am missing the Mark Hotel.
And of course, we got so many other great interviews in store for you next week, the week after that, and in perpetuity.
Think about who we had this week. I can't even remember. We had the great writers of the Adapters. We had the chief marketing officer of Margaritaville. We had a former ambassador that was an incredible product. We have basically one of the founding fathers of Moxie. It's just what a great show. Every week I surprise you surprise me, I should say. Most of these guests, you're getting most of these guys.
I pinch myself. I can't believe the quality of people that we get on this show to help educate and empower all of you folks out there. Thank you for letting us into your home every single day. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check our happy hour show tomorrow, hosted by myself and our friend Craig Sullivan, 5 p.m. tomorrow, Friday Night Audit. I also got Sunday night. I'll be talking BT Talks baseball. Check that out online. And Anthony, anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, you got too many damn podcasts. All right, let's take me out of here.
New Vacancy News today. That's on twice a week. And Advantage Hotels has featured me in their podcast, which is out today. I'll put that up on social media.
So let's talk about your book real quick. Tell me the name of your book. Tell me where people can find it. And tell me why people should buy it.
The Adapters. It will teach you to think better. Focused on all of these amazing individuals. We did all these great interviews, over 20 of them during the COVID time. Lots of formulas, lots of interesting stuff, lots of a great read. Help get yourself educated for what is coming next. Find that on Amazon.com. Anthony, thank you for letting me do that shameless pitch. I'm so bad at the team.
So how many books did you show yesterday? Could you tell?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But people said that they were buying them. They could be lying them to me to make me feel nice. But if you really did buy it, I really super appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I guarantee the only person in the whole book that used the F word was me, and I wish you would have taken that out, but whatever.
Oh, stop it. Everybody uses the F word in the book. You're kidding me. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. And remember, you've got one life, so blaze on, and
Be kind to yourself.
see y'all next